Okay, last step of factoring. Factoring C. What if you have 4 or more terms? Let's review first our steps. Step 1, take out. Make sure you always ask yourself that first. Step 2, if there's 2 terms in the problem, we have 2 types. We have square minus squares. So if you have a squared minus b squared is a plus b times a minus b. And then the second kind is a cube. And that's where we just memorize that rule. The third step, unfoil. Those are 3 terms. And this fourth step is going to be to do it with grouping. And there's going to be 4 terms. Now there could be more than 4 terms, but we usually don't do any that are bigger than that. Alright, number 1. We're going to start off with these a little bit easier ones to try to explain what the grouping means. So you can see that in this problem, number 1, there's only 2 terms. This is 1 term, and this is your second term. So you want to make sure you understand what they mean by term. Terms are separated with plus and minus signs. So this is a 2-term problem. Well, if you look up at our directions, 2-term problems are supposed to be what can you take out, and then is it a square minus square or is it a cube? Well, these are obviously not squared because there's no letters that are squared and they're not cubes. But what do these 2 terms have in common? What you should notice that they have in common are these parentheses. Okay? So I'm going to take out the parenthesis. Now, I don't really care what's in the parenthesis, but that parenthesis is going to get taken out. And then we make a parenthesis and we say what's left. Well, if you take this parenthesis out, then you divide by this, so that would cancel, and you're left with A. If you take this parenthesis out, you're left with B. So that would be factored right there. Now you'll see if we can check this answer. If you check it with FOIL, you would get a squared plus ab minus 2a minus 2b. None of those are like terms, so you would just get those 4 terms. Well, what happens up here if you distribute? You get a squared minus 2a plus ab minus 2b. Aren't these 2 exactly the same thing? So you've done it correctly. Okay? Try another one and see. Now it's a little confusing at first, but just take your time and think. What do these 2 terms have in common? What do the 2 terms have in common? The parenthesis, x plus 1. When you take that out, what's left? What's left? 5x minus 4. And you're done. Now we're going to make it one step harder. They're going to give you 4 terms. And you can see that there's nothing in common between all 4 terms. So we cannot take anything out of all 4. So what we're going to do is group them and take out of the groups. The goal in these grouping problems is to make these kind of problems where the parentheses become the same so we can take them out. That's our goal. Most of the time you can just group them with the first 2 and the second 2. Between the groups needs to be a plus sign. So notice this minus goes with this 3 only. So you can't put the parenthesis right here. That's important. All right, now all it is take out. So look at this first parenthesis. What do they have in common? 2x. So we're take out 2x. What's left? X minus y. Plus, that's that red plus sign. What can you take out in this parenthesis? Well, we know we want the parentheses to match, so we know that we want to have it be a positive x in the parenthesis. So take out negative 3. Now remember, take out just means divide. So if you take out, oh, we can take out negative 3y. Those are in both equations, or both terms. Take out negative 3y, what's left? X. And if you take a positive and you divide it by a negative, you get a negative. You took out the 3, and you took one of the y's out. So again, we are now down from a 4-term problem, we're down to a 2-term problem. What do they have in common? They have x minus y in common. What's left? 2x plus negative 3y. So understand this plus sign is right here now. Now, some people would write that as x minus y times 2x minus 3y, and that would be fine as well. I know, it is very confusing at first, so just take your time. All right, just take your time when you're going through these. All right, number 4. Let's get this over a little bit. Group them together. Now in this one, I went ahead and put my parenthesis inside there because that is a plus sign. All right, the only time you have to be careful is if it's a minus sign. So what can you take out of this first group? They both have an A. What's left? A minus 2b. So I know my next parenthesis, I want to get A minus 2b. Well, what can you take out? You can take out a 2 and you get A minus b. What's wrong with that? You can't get these parentheses to match, so it didn't do you any good. Now, you could try to regroup them and see if that helps. If we try to regroup them, you might say, well, let's put a squared plus 2a in a group. And then we always have a plus sign. So negative 2ab minus 2b. And see if that helps get them grouped properly. So take out your a, and you get a plus 2. Over here, what are we going to take out? Negative 2, and we get, we can take out negative 2b, and we'll get a plus 1. So did it work again? It did not. So if you cannot factor it, what do you call it? Prime. This one is non-factorable. It won't work. All right, sometimes that happens, not very often. Number 5, group them. Again, you need to be careful because this one has a minus sign. So between the groups, you need a plus. Take out, oh, we don't have anything in common if we don't regroup them. So that was bad grouping. Don't like that grouping. Regroup. What do you want to put together? I would put the 3a and the 3ax in a group, plus, and then I'd put negative 2bx and negative 2b in a group. So you have to regroup this one. It doesn't work. Take out 3a. What's left? 1 plus x. Take out negative 2b. What's left? X plus 1. All right, so now we've got the two terms. Do they have matching parentheses? Yes, this one's just written backwards. So take out your x plus 1, because that's how we normally would write it. What's left? 3a, and this could be written as negative 2b. Check it. If you redistribute this or you FOIL this, you get 3ax. There's 3ax. Outside is negative 2bx. There's negative 2bx. Inside's 3a. There's 3a. And last is negative 2b. And there's negative 2b. So you can check them. All right. Number 6. Wait, this only has 3 terms. How do you factor 3-term problems? All we got to do is unfoil it. Okay. So we just need to guess and check. Well, what gives you a squared? A and A. It's your first guess for 36. Mine would be 6 and 6. Does that give you 12 in the middle? I need negative 12. If they were both negative, will I get positive 36? Yes. Now why is this problem in here then? It seems like we already did these. Here's the reason why. You have to write that answer as a quantity squared. These are perfect square trinomials, which you've seen before when we did that FOIL worksheet. When I gave you that FOIL worksheet with 60 questions on it, they all looked like this, and you had to get this answer. You were hoping you could skip this step that was trying to get you to go fast to that answer. Alright, so recognizing these at the beginning is sometimes difficult, but once you write it down twice and it's the same thing, you know you can write your answer together. So this one is also a trinomial. So we're just going to unfoil it. 4a squared is 2a and 2a. 9 is 3 and 3. You get 6a in the middle and 6a in the middle, and if they're both negative, I would get negative 12. I notice that these are the same, so my answer is 2a minus 3 quantity squared. So just make sure if you get two that are the same, you write it together. Alright, 8, 9, and 10 are also grouping problems. They are very difficult ones. Okay, we are going to talk about these three in class. Okay, they have a special name. They're called 3-to-1 grouping. So you want to remember that, 3-to-1 grouping. Alright, now you got to prove to me that you've watched this video. So some things that you should remember. What are we doing in this whole section? We're factoring by grouping. What sign needs to be between your groups? That would be a good question for me to ask you. A plus sign needs to be between your groups. Okay? How many terms are in your groups? Well, you would tell me there's 2 terms in each group. After you do the first set of grouping, how many terms are left? You start with 4 terms, you get it down to a 2-term problem, and then you take out again. So remember, you're doing take out twice in these problems. Alright? Remember that we talked about perfect square trinomials, that you have to write their answer as a parenthesis squared. All these could be questions I ask you to prove that you've watched the video. Study this picture. Okay? Study the picture. Well, I might ask you, how many things are in the picture? 6. I might ask you to name 2 of the 6 things that are in the picture. A candy cane, an ornament, a tree. I might ask you what color something is. So you want to study the picture. I will not make the question too hard. If you've looked at the picture, you will get the answer correct. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's watching the video. So we'll do 8, 9, and 10 in class.